Hello and welcome to the RK Football Podcast. To my left we have Matt Ty.
Hello.
In the centre we have Matt Thowney.
Hello.
And on the right we have Stuart Irvine.
Hello.
So today we have decided to create this football podcast because we need fans' views on the certain subjects that the pundits don't particularly talk about.
Yeah,
Correct.
pretty much.
But obviously Sunday, end of the season. Manchester City have got their second Premier League crown.
Congratulations to them.
Well done them.
Which
I'm devastated, by the way.
yeah, Stuart, Liverpool fan, isn't particularly happy about. The two Matts, Chelsea fans, what sort of season do you think you've had?
We've had a mixed season because Mourinho straight away said he wasn't looking to win anything because he's looking at a squad in transition. But also in the long run, this is his second year in a row where he's failed to win a major trophy.
I really do think, though, that next season, even if we get a big striker in, like you keep saying we should, that's not still going to help. If he gets an injury, we're still screwed. We need a backup just in case, so we need to be invested in still.
Well, being here with fans of all the top four, as a Villa fan myself, it's a bit it's a bit disappointing of a season. But in terms of the season in general, the question we're asking is: has this season been the best Premier League season of all time?
By far, it's been one of the most entertaining because it's been the closest the top four have been in over 10, 20 years.
That's fair. Liverpool and Manchester City going into the final day, just about.
Yeah, it wasn't like 2 seasons ago. We actually had we didn't really have a chance, did we?
No.
We were like, it would take West Ham to beat City. Come on, did anyone really believe that? except for you guys trying to put give me hope.
Yeah, I mean, on the day we were all with Stuart as we watched the game, and when Vincent Kompany scored, I could see the colour drain from your face.
I think the highlight of that day for Matt was Skirtle's own goal. That just summed it up. Gets so close, and then Skirtle just fluffs it. Skirtle's now got the most own goals in a season ever with 4.
Yeah.
Well, 7. I think it was like 7 goals. I think the whole season and 4 of them own goals. The guy's like, what? I think
he's also the first player to score against the top 4. He scored 1 goal against Chelsea, 2 goals against City, and 4 against Liverpool.
But one thing we've got to remember is, at the end of the day, the reason why this is, for me, been the most entertaining season is because these are two teams from the Premier League that have literally just bossed it all the way through and always wanting to watch them consistently. I can't see why no one would want to watch them.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say City and Liverpool have played the most entertaining football.
Like Chelsea, they come third, but be honest, I didn't enjoy watching them every 5 minutes.
Well, we can always say the Liverpool-Chelsea game, you pretty much parked the bus.
Yeah.
It worked.
It worked perfectly. So this is the thing.
Going back to the most entertaining, this is like the first time that the top two teams broke the 100-goal mark, with City getting 102 and Liverpool getting 101.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this a trend for things to come, though? Is next season going to see 3 teams all of a sudden scoring loads of goals and blowing the league away?
I think after Chelsea's park the bus tactics, I think more littler teams will learn how to play against the likes of City and Liverpool because they've seen it been effective. Because if you look back to when Liverpool went to Palace, which effectively lost them the league, they were 3-0 up, but everyone knows Liverpool's tactics, and everyone knows Liverpool have got exploits in the defence and just easy to came back.
It summed up their season in one game.
And it's fair to say it was the moment Liverpool lost the league.
Yeah,
sure.
I think it was in a pub either when we were watching that.
I just remember seeing his face, devastation all over it. It was
Luis Suarez was a picture of every Liverpool fan at the end of the game in tears. It
was quite funny as a Chelsea fan, to be honest. I'm not going to lie.
I can imagine.
Yeah, funny, very funny.
In terms of, you spoke about Mourinho, about how they haven't been entertaining to watch. This is an argument that's coming up again, which was the same argument just as Mourinho left in 2007. Abramovich wanted entertaining football. Chelsea fans wanted entertaining football. Would you prefer the entertaining football, or would you prefer to win?
I watch football because I want to be entertained throughout 90 minutes. I didn't watch football for just the results. At the end of the day, everyone watches football for the same reason. They want to be entertained. They want to be on the edge of their seats every 5 minutes. Okay, yes, it's getting results, but it's not like Liverpool.
So you would prefer to play really entertaining football but finish 4th?
Yeah.
No, I'm not Arsenal.
Good point.
That's what Arsenal do.
Arsenal play beautiful football. Look, if you look back at some of their goals, especially against the Norwich one where they flicked it around, that is
Jack
great
Wilshere's
football.
goal.
But they just can't finish it off. They had this. Everyone jokes about it, but it was true. They liked to walk it into the goal, and that's why they haven't won a trophy in 8 years. They've focused so much on that entertaining aspect. They've almost forgot how to win, because they had the ideal chance to win a trophy in the 2011 with the League Cup, but because they play such a different.
Was a horrible day.
some person we know.
I didn't mention the team they lost to.
Thank you.
We didn't want to rub it in, you know.
In Arsenal, though, this season, top the league for the most time out of all the teams that top the league.
Yeah. There is one problem with it, though. The moment Aaron Ramsey got the injury,
I don't think it was just Ramsey. I think Özil and Ramsey together were great. When Özil was back and Ramsey wasn't, Özil dropped off.
Yeah.
See, now this is something a lot of people debate. Özil this season, has he been a success?
No.
Well, it's debatable, because if you compare some of his statistics, if you compare it to some of the other players in his position, compare him to David Silva's first season, he played less games but created more chances.
The problem is, we paid, for example, for Fernando Torres, we paid 50 million, so you expect an impact immediately. With Özil, though, you pay 42 million, you expect an impact immediately. He done it at the beginning, but not throughout the season.
Okay, but in fairness, it is fair to say Özil at the time may have been worth 42 million. Torres was definitely not worth 50 million, and everybody involved in football knew it.
Yeah.
Apart from Abramovich.
Yeah, but think about it.
Abramovich was after Torres for years. He was willing to pretty much swap the club for Torres.
Yeah, I mean, it's a story involving Brendan Rodgers at Liverpool. I heard you speaking about it only 10 minutes ago before we was on air.
Rodgers used to be Mourinho's scout and went to watch him play for Atletico, and he went back and said, look, this kid, he might have been only 19 back in the time, but he is worth it and we should put some money towards it, because he was untested, young, and in a lesser league, because back then La Liga was pretty much Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico had only really just come back up from the second division. So Abramovich didn't risk it, but when Liverpool signed him in 2007 and saw how well he did, Abramovich realised he missed a trick and tried to catch up, but he wasted it. Because we first put a bid for 30, Liverpool said no, then 40, Liverpool said no, then he just went stupid and went 50.
I think 40 is even stupid.
But
especially for Torres at the time, because
he only came back from a hamstring injury as well.
Well, what got me was
That's good business.
I mean, Stuart will tell you as a Liverpool fan.
It was great business because it gave you Suarez and that donkey Carroll.
Stuart will tell you.
Rub it in.
Stuart will tell you as a Liverpool fan that Torres had not had a good year at Liverpool anyway. He had been half the player he was, and then all of a sudden he popped up, scored a brilliant goal against Chelsea. He got a double that day, and Chelsea went, "Oh, he's worth 50 million."
Yeah, but isn't that how the old Chelsea philosophy? If you can't beat him, sign him.
Sign him, bang on.
That's exactly what we've done with Salah, but he's actually good.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
Yeah,
but Salah's also 21, whereas Torres is now nearly 30.
So, final say on the title race: did City deserve it?
Yeah,
I'd say yeah. After a 38
whoever wins
game
the title
week,
do deserve it.
After 38 games, whoever's top deserves it, surely.
Yeah.
I noticed Stuart's silence on
Let me
this.
try and be a bit unbiased.
Spit some lyrics, come on.
Okay, I would say, obviously, as a Liverpool fan, I would love to have won the title, but what I'm going to say is them guys. When he said,
Stu, is next year yours?
fingers crossed.
See, I think the thing is with Liverpool, and I've said
really
this to
hope so.
Stuart a lot of times over the past 2 weeks, Liverpool will be in the Champions League next season, and that's brilliant. But they can't focus on it, because if they focus on it, they will drop out the top four. They haven't got the squad to compete on both levels.
Not yet.
Not yet. No.
Well, you're gonna need an 80 million.
It depends who signed the summer though, because
You've also got to remember now with the financial fair play that you got to buy from it this season because you weren't in Europe last year. But next year you've got to make sure you fit those rules, because City's ban is a 50 mil and they're reduced to 21 rather than 28.
Although they have appealed it, which looks like it's going to be a City versus FIFA battle, which
makes a change from
isn't
Chelsea
going to be
versus
good
FIFA.
for football. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Moving down the league into the 4th place position, Arsenal, we spoke about how they were in the title picture and they dropped off, but Everton have really been the success story this season.
Yeah,
I think it's because of
wow.
Martinez. Martinez has brought in a good attacking philosophy, like he had, because he whenever at Wigan, he wasn't the best. It wasn't the best, but he still played attractive football and got the results they needed because they stayed up last day of the season for the past 4 years. And going to Everton, the loan signings as well, of Lukaku, Traore and Barry have all been excellent.
I think there's 4 players that kind of sum up how well they've done this season. That for me is Stones, Ross Barkley, Barry and Lukaku. Without them 4, I think they would not have got where they are today.
I also think Oviedo fits into that picture as well. At the start of the season, he was on fire.
I mean, to be fair,
I'd say it's about
Barkley has we all knew he had talent.
Mm.
He's threw himself into the World Cup squad, which we will speak about later. John Stones, he's come out of nowhere since he's moved from Barnsley, and all of a sudden he's
got himself a plot on a standby list, which looks likely because Phil Jones is in.
Well, all of a sudden you can say he's a good Premier League defender.
Mm-hmm.
Gareth Barry, resurgent. I don't know where this came from. I mean, at Villa he was a brilliant left winger. At City, he moved into defensive midfield, and at Everton, he's really owned that position.
He has. He's made it his own.
And a lot of people, although he isn't on the plane, thought he could have been in England's World Cup squad.
We need that kind of player. Lampard.
He's experienced as well. Surely have him on the standby list, because if you look at our standby list, there's no one really that experienced.
Well, we will speak about this. We don't want to give too much away.
Right.
But Lukaku, as Chelsea fans, you must be looking at Lukaku scoring 15, 16 goals for Everton this season.
All of our strikers put together in the Premier League.
You must be looking and thinking, what was Mourinho thinking?
All I could think of with Mourinho is when we played in the Super Cup, he cracked under the pressure, and being in the top four, one of the top squads, you're going to be under that pressure week in, week out. I think because at West Brom he wasn't under pressure to perform because West Brom were just sort of average. At Everton was a bit more higher up, feeling the pressure,
and he still scored goals.
He still scored goals, which I think was good Premier League experience, and also at a top club. And I think now he will be at Chelsea.
I think we should have kept him though, because you say like the pressure and everything. Yeah, a penalty, everyone feels the pressure. That's why if he scored that penalty, he would have been at Chelsea.
But this is the thing.
But even before the penalty, he had a chance to win the game in extra time and fluffed it.
You can't judge a career on one fluff chance.
You got to remember, he also had the whole of the 2010-11 season at Chelsea,
and didn't get played though.
He did get played. He played the odd handful of the games, but he's never scored for Chelsea.
For 19 million.
So you two agree that Mourinho will end Lukaku's Chelsea's career, and he will sell him this summer?
I think he'll be our starting striker.
I'm 70% sure that he will not be at Chelsea next season.
The only reason I think he's our starting striker is because Eto'o's contract's up.
Eto'o's on his way back to Mallorca, apparently.
Eto'o's either off to Mallorca or America, like they all do. Bar, I reckon he'll sell. Torres, they only keep him because of the 50 mil price tag, and Abramovich wants his money's worth, and he'll probably bring in another striker.
Yeah, see, the thing is, Chelsea play with one striker, as you guys know,
which is annoying.
And they are in talks for Diego Costa this week, and that's expected to go through before Saturday's big Atletico Barcelona game, which is just mind-blowing. But if Diego Costa's a starting striker, does Lukaku deserve better than sitting on the bench each week?
4-4-2 or 4-3-3.
I'll say go in a 4-5-4-2 position, like the old diamond formation.
Since when has Mourinho played 4-4-2?
Mourinho plays 4-4-2 when he needs a goal. But the thing is, Costa, he's had one good season at Atletico.
Well, no, I mean,
before he's been at Atletico all his career. But
he did score a fair few goals last season, but he was under the radar because Atletico didn't challenge.
And before then, he was on loan everywhere else.
Yeah. I mean, Liverpool last summer really close to signing Diego Costa.
Yeah,
and it's scary to think if they'd have signed him too.
That
would have won you the
league.
But would he have had the same form now? Because obviously,
you got to think about
the
supply from midfield you had.
Back at Atletico Madrid, they had the likes of Turan and Koke feeding them. And at Liverpool, you got Gerrard and Henderson,
Sterling as well.
Sterling and Coutinho, but they're young. But those players at Atletico have got the experience.
True, but you don't need experience to know what Liverpool done that season was absolutely unreal.
But you can't have looked at if you go
league.
back to this time last year, you can't have looked saying, "Oh, these 4 players will be amazing." You can't have looked at that.
No.
No.
We are waffling a little. We were on the subject of Everton, and we spoke about Martinez and Lukaku, but how do you feel Arsenal were lucky to get 4th place? Personally, I
think they're lucky because they lost to Everton. Everton had the game in hand to go above them and stay there, but they lost it.
I mean, I remember that game quite well, and that was one of the vivid moments of the season for Everton, beating Arsenal 3-0 at Goodison Park,
and then losing
2-1 to Palace at Goodison again.
That
Palace again.
Palace. We will speak about Palace because they've been
a
story this season. Let's say that.
Yeah, it's a story.
Going further down, Tottenham, Manchester United, battling for 6th place on the final day. Tottenham will play in the Europa League next season.
It wasn't really a battle, really, was it? Because it was just a. I mean,
the question is with Tottenham, who will be leading them there?
Yeah.
Well, yes, Tim Sherwood will not, which many people knew wouldn't happen. Is it the wrong idea to say Tim Sherwood?
I would say it's because he guided them to their best winning run. I know it's in a short period of time, best winning run, and he put that team together when it was just falling apart, and he brought Eriksen back and made him the player.
He also brought back Adebayor.
What has been Tottenham's problem this season, though? Because at the start of the season, you had to look. I know Bale had gone, and Bale's an amazing player, obviously, but the squad they brought in with the talent that's there,
I think
they were better than last season.
I think
they should have.
They did what a City did when they first got their money. They bought a squad of players. They didn't have an actual team.
Yeah, that's fair. Christian Eriksen, though, he's
like their one good signing.
He staked his claim for one of the best midfielders in the country.
Yeah, he was probably their best signing.
We were after him, but unfortunately, as always with Tottenham, they seem to poach our players and seem to
Or Chelsea with Willian.
No, I'm talking about the other one. The guy. Was it
Salah?
We bloody had him, and then you had to go and poach him and take him.
We will speak about Manchester United because Manchester United's season this season deserves a topic of its own. Let's be honest.
Almost deserves a podcast
so
of its own.
Yes, so let's skip past. I'm sure there are many. Let's skip past 7th and further into the mid-table. Stoke City have been.
I think Mark Hughes has done a great job there.
I was really shocked. I thought
they've been the surprise package of the season.
I really did. I thought their team doesn't look like they have the players, but then they suddenly got all these players in on loan, getting all the right players. I really do think what he's done with them is on par. I know it sounds stupid, on par with what Pulis done.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've said this because Stoke City at the start of the season were many people's favourites to finish bottom, myself included.
I figured Stoke would be certainly relegation candidates.
Because I didn't think Mark Hughes' style of football would have worked with the players that were there. But all of a sudden, Charlie Adam,
Peter Crouch,
in particular, he's brought in Adam Wingy, who's done really well.
Saidi on loan from Liverpool.
Yeah.
He knocked Chelsea. His goal against Chelsea back.
Well, it was a brilliant goal.
It was a good goal, very good goal.
What can I say?
But
we're nice enough to give smaller teams some players, and it works out, doesn't it?
Do you want to throw us a couple our way?
If you ask nice enough.
But Stoke, where do they go from here?
I'd say they just try and assert themselves as a top 10 team.
They've always
top defenders. Shawcross and Robert Huth have got a really bad reputation, and that needs to change. They need a defender there that can do the job and not get red cards week in, week out.
Yeah, okay, they are not the cleanest of sides, but aren't Huth and Shawcross one of the 2 best defenders in the league? Isn't it fair?
I'd say Shawcross, not Huth.
Well, you got to look at Huth. He's one of those no nonsense players. He's a bit like Vidic was. He'd always put his body on the line. He'd always try and put in a tackle.
Don't you think that
you got to remember
Huth and Shawcross are those no nonsense players that a side like Liverpool have needed this season?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there is a place for it. That's what I'm saying. You mentioned Crystal Palace, Tony Pulis. He has won PFA Manager of the Year, which is just brilliant.
I guess Brendan Rodgers won the
LMA.
Brendan Rodgers won the LMA.
There's the League Managers Association and the League Footballers Association.
The footballers themselves voted for Tony Pulis, and he has done a fantastic job since coming in. And Palace at the time, they were down if there wasn't the change.
Oh God, yeah.
I think Holloway realised that. That's why he left.
Holloway leaving, although he's such a great character in the Premier League.
Yeah, he's a bit like the little Mourinho.
I was so glad he was back, mainly because of his interviews on Match of the Days. Some of his quotes are hilarious.
Definitely. The transfers that Pulis brought in, Cameron Jerome was already there, but people like Joe Ledley from Celtic, and
that was a good sign.
Tom Ince.
Tom Ince in particular, and he. At the end of the season, in particular, Dwight Gales came in, and he's done brilliantly. I think it was 4 goals in 3 games or something
4 goals
like
in 3
that.
games, yeah.
Did Dwight Gale deserve a starting place more often?
I'd say so. Certainly now that Ince has gone back because he was only on loan, and Gale is actually part of the Crystal Palace team. I reckon that will certainly put him in the starters.
Problem is though, his experience come from League One straight to the Premier League. He never played in the Championship. He literally skipped.
But if he scores goals, does he need to?
He's not the first player to
It's one of those things.
He did start though. He started well at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and he did well. No, but he was then dropped out the side, and he came back in around Christmas. I remember him scoring at Villa Park in the last minute from like 35 yards to win in the game, and he has the talent. But whether he will be used correctly is a different matter.
It's one of those things. If you're old enough, you're good enough, and that's the thing. Because he's young, and also it doesn't matter if you can just go from League One to Premier League. Because Di Canio went from the Sunderland squad went from Sunderland from Swindon to Sunderland. So
next down, we'll speak about Southampton, because I think it's fair to say that Southampton have been the team to put smiles on fans' faces, especially Saints fans, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's been a real happy place at St Mary's Stadium.
Yeah, this is where their joint best position in the Premier League of 8th.
I think if Liverpool didn't do as well as they did, I think they would have been the team of the year. I really do, because that was what they brought through. The English talent was absolutely superb.
Well, I mean, since the end of the season, Luke Shaw, he's been from Manchester United. There's been a bid in for Luke Shaw. Adam Lallana looks like he's on his way to Liverpool.
Yeah, £20 million, but
and
if I was Southampton, I'll try and milk a bit more out of us.
Yeah. And including Ricky Lambert, all 3 are on the England World Cup plane. Where do Southampton go next season to try and better this without maybe Lallana and Shaw?
Personally,
it's youth, because Warden Prowse is coming through. They've got a left back who's coming above Nathaniel Klein, and he's another good defender. So that spot is filling up. So they have got it there. There.
Yeah.
And Sam Gallagher signs a new contract this week. So,
from one extreme to the other, there's Newcastle this season.
Do we have to talk about Newcastle?
I think just Newcastle is just this so weird. I think it was big old foreshadowing when they gave Pardew that 8-year contract. Like, no manager has a contract longer than 4 years, and pretty much he knows Newcastle can't afford to buy him out of that. So he's been able. He's sort of like had a scapegoat to get away with some of these poor results. But the players they have, like Remy's in the France squad for the World Cup, Goffran, no. But a few other players they have.
The players they had,
quality.
They should have done a lot better.
They certainly should have been challenging for a Europa League spot again this year.
But is it a matter of coaching antics and fans' protests have overshadowed any football played this season? I mean, looking back to the whole game, Pardew's headbutt and David Myler.
That was just stupid.
I just don't understand how players are meant to behave on the pitch when the man that's telling them what to do is behaving like that on the sidelines.
I think it's if you go to a football game, like you say, you go for enjoyment, but you're also looking at role models. Like young players imagine to be those players, and some that know they can't be players will look to their coaching staff to try and bring forward the next generation, because that's why I know I can't play that well, so that's why I look at the coaches.
Yeah.
And as a young aspiring coach, you don't want to see that sort of behaviour.
You don't want to see it. That's the thing.
It's not just the fact that he's a coach that some people would look up to. It's also the fact he's an English coach, so he's given English coaches a bad reputation.
And I mean, only a few weeks until the end of the season against Cardiff, they have nearly half the stadium walk out in protest in the 69th minute. Mike Ashley has a decision to make this season, this summer, to keep Pardew or to sack him.
The thing is, he can't sack him. He can't afford it.
I think they'd be able to work out a way.
One thing I learned when I was playing football, that when like my manager, when he would tell me something like, go down even if you get the littlest touch, I refuse to listen to him, because I think that's a bad idea. So when you get someone like Alan Pardew doing, like you said, what he done against Hull, that you don't want to follow him. You really don't after that. So he's got to go, I think.
I mean, morals is a touchy subject in football, it's fair to say.
It's also taboo.
Yeah, not many people have morals, so it's nice to hear a player saying what you just say there. But I don't think Pardew, in particular, realises the effect he has on the youngsters.
He's a good manager. We can't take that away from him. He is a really good
Last season, he was probably the best English manager out there for what he did.
I would say the season before, because last season he had to deal with Europa League, and I don't think they were ready for it yet. So they kind of felt.
Yeah, I think the season when he got them into Europa League was his best season.
Papa Cissé's going into Chelsea. Let's not.
I think we should talk about
I'm sorry, but
that.
as a Chelsea fan, that hurts me. But even like the likes of Drogba were clapping that as a fair old goal.
Yeah, definitely. We're still going down the league into the relegation battle. Fulham, Cardiff, and Norwich are the three teams that are down.
All lost their managers this season. Fulham lost theirs twice.
There's the big story. That's why all three teams have gone down.
I think anyone that sacks their manager is a bad idea.
I don't think it was just sacking the manager which lost it for Norwich. If you looked at the start of the season when the fixtures released, their last 4 games were home to Liverpool, away to Chelsea, home away to Man United, then home to Arsenal. Those are the 4 teams you want to avoid, because they're either go for the title or go for Europe, and you pretty much know they will be going all guns blazing. So
Norwich, many people expected to go down, and many people are happy that they've gone down. In fact, for clubs that have stayed up, they will look at Norwich. Are there any players in particular that you go, they need to be signed up?
I think Hooper, maybe.
What about Johnny Howson in the centre of midfield?
I think there's a huge problem though. Like, I can understand where you're coming from. Like players like Snodgrass, them kind of players, yes. But when you go to the front line, I would say no, because I think it was about 3 weeks before the end of the season. Overall, 4 of them strikers had 27 shots on target altogether. That is a terrible record.
It's terrible, and it's surprising because at the start of the season, you had to look at Norwich's front line in particular. At the start of the season, Ricky Van Wolfswinkel, everyone thought would be brilliant.
I thought would be a great signing for them. I certainly didn't put them down as relegation candidates because of that.
No, Gary Hooper, you thought goals galore. I mean, at the point, they let Becchio go out because they didn't need him. And Becchio is maybe not good. Premier League, but he's still a good striker.
He can get the goal.
He'll get you the goals, that's the thing. So many people are surprised at that. And it's fair to say that's one of the main reasons Norwich went down.
I think another player that will leave Norwich is John Ruddy.
John Ruddy's a weird one because
I think he's overrated. I really do.
I see.
One good
you
season.
Might think he's overrated. He's not had one good season. He's had a few. He's been consistent. I reckon he will certainly go maybe to one of the new promoted sides as a backup keeper, or certainly to like the likes of West Brom. Because without when Ben Foster got injured, who is West Brom's keeper?
Yeah. That was Mile.
Exactly. He's
exactly. In terms of Ruddy, though, his age may be a problem because
Mark
Schwartz
is 41.
Yeah, and sits on the bench each week.
He sits on the bench, but only because Petr Cech.
Yeah.
You got to remember, he was starting for Fulham the year before.
Yeah. We spoke about Cardiff. Cardiff are the big team this season. The headlines have gone there. Vincent Tanley, the owner, he's a lively character indeed.
Doesn't know what he's doing.
Doesn't know what he's doing. You can say that.
Football on his arm.
We spoke about managers being sacked, and it's a big reason. Cardiff in particular. If Malky Mackay didn't get sacked, Cardiff stay in the Premier League.
See, I don't know if that would have happened because
I think they would have.
I think they did a QPR fact. There's like, right, we need more players, and just bought everyone they could.
Everyone thought they could stay up because of the money they spent. That's not necessarily true. Like, everyone thought Arsenal would challenge the title once they signed Ozil, but look where they finished, and that's the same what happened with Cardiff.
Well, they did challenge the title.
They challenged for the title until the injuries hit them.
Yeah.
That's what they forgot. They don't have the backup.
Yeah,
they never had it there.
But I mean, when Mackay was sacked, Cardiff were like 15th, hardly in the relegation.
They were 15th, but they were a point above 17th.
Yeah, but I personally think Mackay would have kept them up.
Yeah.
I think he would have done.
He's not been in the Premier League before, but he can do it.
He's got the talent.
He's a good manager. And Vincent Tan only come out and said it's his fault that they got sacked?
Yeah, well, there's been a huge argument because of compensation and what for.
He's back in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, isn't he? It seems.
Yeah, I mean, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a top manager. What he's done in Norway is brilliant, and he will be a top manager. He's got the potential.
He does have the potential, but I think he got into a tougher job straight away.
That's the thing. If Solskjaer would have took over at a Hull or someone like that who were already doing well, he would have took them to where they are now.
I reckon if Solskjaer had the whole season, they might have stayed up.
Because Steve Bruce, you look at the job he's done, I don't think anyone can...
Steve Bruce done a brilliant job. I'm not disclaiming that. I just think Solskjaer has the potential to be a really, really good manager.
Yeah.
Fulham.
I think
that's the usual reaction when you mention Fulham.
You can't sack 2 managers in a season and expect to stay up. I'm sorry.
It's like you sack 1, you're kind of in trouble, I think, already, and then 2, that's it. You might as well write yourself off immediately.
Yeah, definitely.
Mike Gareth is a good manager, but these tactics obviously cannot keep him up.
He's got a history. Fulham is the first team he's been relegated with, but you've also got to look at the other clubs where he's safe. There's rumours that he's alienated players and pretty much almost brought them onto the brink of death because of overtraining.
Don't you think, though, the players Fulham have got isn't good enough to stay in the Premier League?
Well, if you look at their players, there's like Darren Bent, Scott Parker, and Stekelenburg, who was the starting keeper for the Netherlands in 2010 of the World Cup final.
But Darren Bent, I can say this as a Villa fan, has not been the same player since he joined Villa.
No, he hasn't. I think he's been plagued by injuries and also...
Plagued by injuries and falling out with managers and whatnot. Scott Parker... Same. He's not really been the same player he was at West Ham, for example, since he joined Spurs.
No, that's true.
And then Stekelenburg, he's had a horrid season.
But could you blame... You can't really blame Stekelenburg. You've got to look at the front four, in front of him.
But it's weird to think that 4 years ago he was their starting goalkeeper in the World Cup final, and now he's been relegated with Fulham.
Just because of the move to Fulham.
Yeah.
It's the move to Fulham that will cost him his World Cup starting.
Because at Roma, he was a God-given keeper that he was the Netherlands number 1. But now, isn't it Tim Krul?
I think it is. So Fulham, Cardiff and Norwich will be playing Championship football next season, and Sunderland will be playing Premier League football.
That is another great escape. They're the second only team to be bottom at Christmas but still stay up.
I think it was better than West Brom. Because
I think it's
2 weeks ago, I think it was 3 weeks ago, they were rock bottom, quite far off everyone else, even though they had a game in hand. And no one saw them staying up.
Well, I think the only difference you have is when Baggies did it, the teams around them were still winning. They were fighting the hardest to stay in the league. Sunderland and Villa as well have only stayed up in a way because of the teams at the bottom losing.
But you've also got to think Sunderland earn it because they went to the Etihad and drew. They went to Stamford Bridge and won, and went to Old Trafford and won.
Yeah.
Sunderland and Chelsea are the only 2 teams to take points off City at home. That's that's top to bottom, just taking them.
That run of form, but from Christmas till April, for example, Sunderland, everyone thought they were still down. The form was poor, but the form around them, the teams around them were poor.
Granted, they were helped by the team around them, but you also got to think their cup run, to the Capital One Cup final, that knackered them out. It's similar to what Swansea had happened to Swansea last year. Up to then, they did great, but then they only won 3 out of their last 12 and stayed up from like a few points.
Yeah, right. So Sunderland playing Premier League football, Villa playing Premier League football. We have to talk about it, unfortunately. From an outsider's point of view, you guys, what do you make of the Villa season this season?
You've had for the past couple of years, you've had a slow decline. You've gone since Martin O'Neill left. You've had a slow decline. Gerard Houllier did great, but of course he had to leave because of his heart condition.
Do some tissues over there.
Then I think your decline started when you hired that guy from that club.
Yeah. Well, I mean, see, the thing is, and I'm probably in the minority here, I think McLeish deserved better than what he got at Villa.
I think straight away he was against it, being his background.
No, yeah, I'm not talking about the fans, but the owner. Because the owner brought McLeish in and said, all I want you to do this season, keep us in the Premier League and cut the wage bill down. So McLeish kept us in the Premier League and cut the wage bill down, and then got sacked for it.
So you got sacked for doing what he wanted.
See what I mean? And Lambert's come in, and we are
done similar
in the same position that we were when he came in, and he's had 2 years, and he's done nothing.
He's brought in youth.
Yes, but in terms of taking us further up the league, he's done nothing.
What type of owner would you like? Because Randy Lerner's put the club up for sale. Would you like a Vincent Tan style-esque owner, or someone who could bring in the money to keep you stable and try and push it back up the league?
I don't care where the owner comes from, what he's got his money for, whatever. As long as he puts the money in and runs the club in a good way, I don't care. Randy Lerner, the reason the slow decline you speak about, because Randy Lerner's gone from spending money to compete with the likes of Everton and Spurs to compete with the likes of then Fulham and Newcastle. Well, not Newcastle, Fulham and Cardiff this season, for example. And the players that Lambert's had to bring in haven't been good enough because of the money that he's had to spend. For example, Lambert's then, at the end of the season, he sent a letter to Lerner saying, we need to bring in players of this calibre to stay in the Premier League next season, likes of Les Scott at Manchester City. And it's true, we do.
It's true.
But Lerner won't pay the money for it.
No.
Lerner's fell out of love with football, and that's why he's selling the club.
Isn't Les Scott on a free, though, as well?
It's the wages.
True.
I
think to stay in the Premier League, I think most people would take a pay cut. If you got the choice of either being a Premier League player or the mid-table Championship, you would probably go for the Premier League, wouldn't you?
Yeah, more than likely, yeah. So we've got to move on to our next topic, because we've waffled on for 37 minutes. Manchester United.
I'm going to enjoy this one.
Well, many people expected after Fergie left at the end of the season that it would be tough. They wouldn't win the title. That was a given.
Yeah, I thought they would like sort of challenge for it at least at some point.
I expected them to still get in Europe. I for sure expected them to be in Europe.
Well, for 2 weeks they were at the top of the Premier League. I know it seems like a short amount of time.
That was the first 2 games of the season, so it doesn't technically count.
No, that was.
You got to remember, City were only at top of the league for 1 extra day compared to United.
Yeah,
and they won it.
I think I saw a statistic where I think we're top of the league. I think it was Arsenal were had the most days in the top.
Yeah, the top 4 is just reversed with the people who are top for the longest.
Yeah. David Moyes, I personally believe, has been fed to the wolves this season.
I think he was a scapegoat. I certainly think he was a scapegoat. They only hired Moyes until their right candidate came along.
Yeah, which by the sounds of it, is going to be.
It's looking like Van Gaal.
I think he was treated very badly by the fans.
I just think
I don't think the club supported him enough, because he set out to get certain players, but the club didn't help him get it.
Juan Mata was the best signing he made.
Juan Mata was a great signing. I mean, Fellaini's signing wasn't particularly great, but managers are allowed to make a couple of mistakes. Surely, you know what I mean. And I personally think anyone who took that job after Fergie wouldn't have been able to do better. Even Mourinho would have took that job and still have been in the same position.
Mourinho would have. You can't go into a club that's had 26 years of success and change the style and still be successful.
No.
You need that transaction phase, which Chelsea have just taken.
I mean, it rings bells of Brian Clough's tenure at Leeds.
It does.
Which come from the famous book and the film The Damned United, in which Leeds have been so used to one manager being in charge that the players can't adapt.
No.
Which is why Manchester United are shipping out at the end of the season the Ferdinands, the Giggses, the Vidic, the Everest.
Will Giggs still be there?
Yeah,
No, I don't think so.
Will Giggs be there as an assistant manager, or will Giggs be there as still a player?
No, I think Giggs wants to start his managerial career on his own, be a manager.
Well, you can always do what they done with Van der Gun at Solskjaer and then put them like
hasn't the other members of the class of '92 bought the club that all started their careers?
Yeah, I remember that.
They haven't brought the club. They're pumping money into Salford because they have money problems. They are playing a big charity game in a couple of weeks. A class of '92 side versus Salford, which should be entertaining. It's fair to say. Giggs would be a right manager for us. He needs a lower league side to start.
Yeah, you can't just jump into it. If you look at all the top managers, they've all started from somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he hasn't even done that great a job in charge of United. He's on the par of Moyes.
It's 1-1, drew 1, lost 2.
Well, exactly. So I don't see how he can be in charge. Van Gaal, the jury's still out. Let's see what he can do. But I don't think he will. Maybe next season United be better, but in terms of the first season, he wouldn't have been able to do better than Moyes.
I think he'll leave in 2 years' time. If he goes there, it'll be 2 years because I've never it was like Felipe Scolari when he came to Chelsea. Everyone thought he would do well because he was in international, because he was managing Brazil. It's different though. And Roy Hodgson, all the international managers never have the same experience as a club manager.
Well, you could argue with Hodgson. He did a great job at Fulham.
Oh yeah, but he got built up to it.
Great job at Baggies.
So he also did a very good job at Baggies.
Scolari just went straight into it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. What do you guys think of the Vidic Ferdinand in particular?
I think United have been needing to ship out them for a while now. Because they're not as good as they were 5-6 years ago when they did the clean sweep and won the Premier League, Champions League and everything else.
I would say Vidic was Ferdinand. No, Vidic has always been.
I don't think he's as good as he was.
No,
he's still a good player, but he's not as good as he was. Vidic has left in the right way. I think they handled it the right way, but Ferdinand in particular, going into the final game of the season against Southampton, I genuinely think Ferdinand expected to sign a new contract.
I reckon Ferdinand was expecting another year.
Yeah. Because there's been no way he can say a big goodbye or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, after the game, he's been told, no, we're not going to give you a contract. And he's gone.
Because has it been decided where Evra and Vidic are going? Because one's going into Milan.
Vidic is on his way to Inter Milan, and it's expected Evra will be following him. Saying that about Ferdinand, at the start of last season, he had a testimonial match against Seville.
He did.
So...
But that was to celebrate a
500 games.
Was it? Or had he decided, Fergie's left, I don't really want to continue here?
That's true, actually, because Lampard and Gerrard has never had that.
Gerrard had a testimonial at the start of the year.
I think it's going to stay at next. I think it's going to stay next couple of years now. I think he can play keeper. He got another 4 or 5 years out of more years out of Gerrard. I think.
Gerrard's defensive midfield position this season has been a real success story.
It has
saved his career a couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. Manchester United, who can they bring in to really propel them?
I think they need a star in each position. I really do, because when you look at that squad, if you get William Ferdinand, look at it next season. The only big star they've got in that squad for me are Rooney and Van Persie.
And Mata.
I'm still not 100% convinced on De Gea as a keeper.
I think he's good. I really do.
I think he's good, but he still makes mistakes, and they're also getting rid of Kujak, who's their backup.
The thing is, a keeper is only as good as the 4 defenders in front of him, or the 5
like
defenders.
Brad Guzan is actually really
Brad Guzan
good.
is a really good keeper, but he concedes the goals he does because you've got Kieran Clark and Nathan Baker.
Ron Vlaar's actually.
Ron Vlaar's got the talent, but with people around him that are making mistakes, he's kind of stuck.
Yeah.
So you believe De Gea isn't good enough, who would you bring in to replace him in goal?
See, I don't know. I don't know what but you need. But De Gea certainly, if with the right back four and a head in front of him, he'll gain confidence because. Ferdinand, because the back four has been so unsettled for United this season. Because one week it's Vidic, Ferdinand, the next it's Vidic, Jones, and then it's Jones, Smalling. I think if you get the back four sorted, then focus on the keeper. Because if you've got a good back four, the keeper will build his confidence.
So going off what Matt said about the 4 stars in each position, the star in each position is what Man United need. Fantasy booking here. Who would you bring in defence, midfield, striker, and in goal?
Well, I think United.
Each of you.
United need a top-class keeper, someone like Courtois, but they won't get him because he's either going to Chelsea or Atletico Madrid. Because no one knows. I don't think even he knows. But if Liverpool are sticking with Mignolet, I can see Pepe Reina being released this year, and I think that'll be the perfect keeper for them. But also, Casillas is also fallen out with Real Madrid and is only plays in the cup games.
Yeah. So what about defenders? Because Ferdinand, Vidic and Evra will leave a big hole.
They will leave a very big hole.
But I would say, going back to goalkeeper, Victor Valdez today has left Barcelona.
Really?
Yeah.
But you got to remember, he's got a knee injury until December.
Victor Valdez did leave, was meant to be leaving on his way to Monaco, changed his mind to he more than likely will go back to Monaco.
But if he goes to United, I think that'd be a great keeper.
Yeah.
I doubt they would risk it.
How old is he now?
About 39.
He's 33, but he won't risk it because he's
he acts like he's 39.
I don't think United will risk it because he's got a knee injury which is keeping him out until like November, which stops his move to Monaco.
Yeah. So
Defenders,
so keeper Stuart.
I mean, I'm not quite sure to be honest, but I mean, I've heard rumours that they might go try and get Fabregas again. And was it for Barcelona?
I mean, I don't think Fabregas would be such a great keeper for United.
I don't know anything about like defence, but I'm just saying like people they can bring in.
They do have this love affair with trying to buy Fabregas because they even tried it with Arsenal.
They tried. That was like the big transfer thing in this last summer.
William Carvalho of I think Porto. He's been spoken a lot, and I think he would fit in well.
Yeah. In terms of Rooney, Van Persie, is their future at Old Trafford?
Van Persie, no. Rooney will be there for the rest of his career.
You really believe Rooney will be there for the rest of his career?
Yeah. Because Rooney absolutely loves that squad to bits, and Van Persie consistently it's one of them. He's injury prone, and when he's injury prone, they will never be as good as they.
I think Van Persie's best years are now behind him.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And that's because he had no injuries. He had no injuries for those 2 years.
But on the subject of Rooney,
I think if they go another year without a trophy, Rooney will leave.
I've said this for a while. At the end of his career, I can see Rooney going back to Everton.
I can as well.
And I don't know why. I can just see it.
I think it'll be a good send-off.
Would they let him back though?
I don't know.
They sort of secretly do. They pretty much do hate him for.
Do you know, as Everton fans often talk about the Z Cars song that comes on before, they'll take those Z Cars and run Rooney over. I can guarantee that.
Oh, for sure.
Why I think he will stay at United though is because you never hear him like all this stuff in newspapers, like on broadcasts and everything. I've never, since I've watched football, heard Rooney say one bad word about Manchester United. You always see it on the odd occasion that players say a bad word about a squad and then they leave.
True, he's never said a bad word about the club, but he has tried to leave the club 3 times in the last 5 years.
He has held them ransom for a lot of money.
So did Gerrard. Sorry to bring it up. He wanted to join Chelsea at one stage, and it never.
But that was back in 2005. Back then, Liverpool weren't really competing back then.
Yeah, the difference was at the time. At the time when Gerrard was going to leave Liverpool, he was leaving for actually wanting to win a trophy. When Rooney was going to leave United,
he was doing it for money. Because he went from 120,000 a week to almost 300,000 in a week in a new contract.
Was that when he was coming out saying like he doesn't think Man United was ambitious enough?
He said it was a club without ambitions.
Yeah, I don't think the ambitions.
Is that a bad word, Matt? Club without ambitions? Calling United your current club and current signers a club without ambitions. I'm pretty sure that's a bad word against them.
Thinking about it. So
that's why I kept looking at him when he said, "I'm like," I mean, he slacked off the club like all the time. Come on.
So next season, Manchester United. Predictions from all of you. Where do you think they will finish?
5th,
6th.
I'd
Stuart?
say 5th, to be honest.
Well, if we're going to be honest, we want them out the league.
If we had our ideal thing, we'd like them out of the title race for another 5 or 10 years would be nice, but...
Man United relegation party 2015 round my house.
That'd be nice.
As this, although it's our first podcast, it is meant to be a season review show. Who have been the top 3 players of the season in the Premier League?
Yaya Toure, Luis Suarez and Adam Lallana. I think Eden Hazard, he's done well, but I think the players that help the whole squad are much better. Eden Hazard is very solo at the moment, I think.
I think Eden Hazard is not on the level of Suarez and Toure.
He's overrated.
He's got the potential to be because he's still very young.
He's only just gone 23, hasn't he?
Exactly, but I don't think he's a well beater just yet.
No, everyone's saying he can be on par with Messi and Ronaldo one day.
He's still one of the Premier League's top players.
Oh yeah, but then he's like, everyone's saying all this, but when he plays in Europe, I can't remember one time where he's done something where like, oh yeah, no, I remember him doing this in Europe. He does it in the Premier League.
So Lallana.
Sides, doesn't he? I mean, he had apparently when he was at Lille, he's like he can play really well against small sides. When it comes to the big sides, he's not as great.
He doesn't do it against Man United.
So if he wants to become like one of them great players, he's got to step it up to like.
So Adam Lallana, we put Adam Lallana in 3rd place in our awards here on this show. Yeah,
I'm almost tempted to swap Adam Lallana for Luke Shaw because I think Luke Shaw has had an unbelievable season.
He has, but I don't think he's had the impact that Luke.
Well, if you think about it, the impact, you're more likely to be influential as a midfielder or attacker because you'll be influencing your results.
Yeah.
But Luke Shaw out of defence, you think they were the first team to stop this SAS from scoring. They were the first team to beat Liverpool at Anfield. They held they held their own against United on the last day of the season when United was still pushing for a Europa
League. Held their own.
Spot.
I think they were the better side. Personally, but
if you think about it, yes, Saints went ahead, but United came back and battered them for the most of the second half.
But first half it was Southampton's game.
First half it was all of Southampton, but the second half United knew they needed a result, so they just came at them.
So
I'll put Shaw maybe like 4th.
I'll say Adam Lallana because if everyone's saying like, oh, Luke Shaw should be in the World Cup squad. This was before that it was announced and all this, and Adam Lallana, everyone put him on the plane immediately because he played those 2 games, every single one. He was brilliant.
I think they only put Lallana on the head on the squad because of his positioning. Because at the time before the squad was announced, Ashley Cole and Leighton Baines were the 2 guaranteed England left backs.
Yeah, but
it's only recently Cole's retired that Shaw's been given his spot.
So we've got Shaw, we've got Lallana. The deciding vote goes to the Liverpool fan Stuart. So.
What do you mean?
Money's under the table, mate.
What do you mean, like?
3rd best Premier League player this season.
It's just going to be hard to be non-biased.
Well, name your 3.
Well, no, don't name your 3. Name who's in 3.
Name who's your 3rd.
I just because of the bias, I'm just going to say just Rapid Sterling because he's done.
Wait, did you just call him Rapid Sterling?
Yes, I just did.
It is a nickname that
I actually would say I would put him up there in my top 5. Raheem Sterling has been unbelievable.
So
he didn't even start. He didn't actually start that much and start the season, and now he's just like.
So I am sorry to say that means that I've got the deciding vote, and I do agree with Matt. Adam Lallana would go 3rd for me. In 2nd place. This is a position because I think I can speak for all of you. It will be Yaya Toure or Luis Suarez.
Sturridge not getting a shout? Would Sturridge not get?
Sturridge would have been 3rd if anything.
Sturridge has had a good season. He's had a good season for his age and everything, but I don't think he's up there with the top 3 in the
He will be
league.
better next season, Sturridge will.
He's
going to get better.
I'm putting my 2nd as Suarez.
You think who's
Suarez is? I think Toure is top.
Stuart has slammed the book down.
Let me explain myself. Yes, he's the Premier League top scorer for this year, but if you think about it, Suarez didn't win them the league.
Ooh, that was like a dagger through the
I did say at the beginning.
I
did say about I think it was March time. Whoever wins the league will get the Player of the Year award.
Yeah. So Matt agrees 2nd place, Luis Suarez.
No, because I thought I know, like what you said there. I know what you said there.
No, it's what you just said. Whoever wins the league will be Player of the Year. City won the league, so you're giving it to a Liverpool player.
You're saying that Luis Suarez, yeah.
Luis Suarez is the second best player.
Shouldn't have won because he didn't win the league, yeah. But opinions change.
Yeah.
Like how it goes throughout the season. The reason why Yaya Toure is because he wasn't scoring all of their goals, was he?
He's a midfielder, that's why.
No. Yeah, but Gareth Bale carried the squad to fourth. Well, carried the squad to fifth, yeah. Luis Suarez got him to second, in my opinion. That's why I think he's the best player last season.
Right, okay, so one each. I wonder where Stuart's going. Second best Premier League player of the season.
Bergkamp.
Yeah, Bergkamp just come back this one season. I'll go Yaya.
Yaya Toure.
Yeah. I mean, if obviously we're going to go like what Mourinho thinks about when he said, he thinks
Edin Dzeko.
Dzeko was the best player. I mean,
I can understand where he's coming from because if you look at the statistics, Dzeko got the most goals for City.
Edin. That comment about Edin Dzeko wasn't anything particular saying he should have won Player of the Year. It was a brilliant mind game. Maybe to his own chairman, he's saying City only won the league because their third best striker is the best out of all the title rivals. Liverpool haven't got a third best striker. Chelsea haven't really got a third best striker.
We haven't really got a striker. Let's be honest here.
That's what Mourinho's saying there.
If you look at the top two clubs of City and Liverpool, they play with two strikers. They played with Sturridge and Suarez, and then either Dzeko, Negredo, Jovetic, or Aguero. We need. If Chelsea were to bring in a striker, they would need to play with two and also have two on the bench, like Liverpool or City do, because they've always got at least one on the bench.
Right. So, Toure.
No, I've got Suarez.
Toure.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Toure.
Is a hat-trick for
Toure.
Yeah.
I think Yaya Toure, in terms of why he's second, he's come up with the goods when it mattered. Again. For example, the goal against Villa on the final week. What a goal.
He's that midfielder, isn't he? He's very rare to find. A bit like Drogba, he had the strength to get a goal.
I think it's maybe you guys won't agree, but I think Yaya Toure is the best midfielder on the planet.
Yeah, because I always say, why did Barcelona? You always think, why did Barcelona let him go?
Well, Barcelona played him in a defensive midfield position. They didn't realise the potential he had.
If anyone you want to look at, you've got to feel sorry for Arsenal, because before he went to Barcelona, he had a trial at Arsenal, and Wenger said he wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
But then if we're going to go through all that stuff, then we're going to go for a whole list.
And then they went for Colo.
We're going to go for a whole list of players that Alex Ferguson, because do you remember when he was there, he used to say, I could have got Joe Hart. No, you never saw him.
The worst one, and Fergie says this himself, the worst one, he could have signed Paul Gascoigne and said, no, he's not good enough. And then look what turned out to be there. And yes, drinking problems, but still.
Besides the trips to rehab, he was a very good player.
So moving on, our number one Premier League player of the season, as Stuart will be happy. I'm not going to ask for your votes because I'm pretty sure we can say it will be Luis Suarez.
Better check.
Obviously, Matt Ty will go with Yaya Toure, but he will be outnumbered in the. And the player of the year for us in particular is Luis Suarez. What a season he's had.
Yeah. I mean, I'll never forget his goal against... It wasn't the one that was like from 40 yards out against Norwich. It was the one where he flicked over a player and just volleyed him back in the net. That proved his quality that season.
Big question is, will Suarez still be at Liverpool?
Yes. Because if you look at, for me, when he was crying his eyes out after the Palace game, for me, that proves he wants to win a title with them. He really does. He does not want to go into...
If he was going to leave, it would have been like when Arsenal tried to do that with them ridiculous.
And they've got Champions League.
I admit,
I reckon he was only signed to get them back to Champions League because he's been trying to push Real move to Real Madrid now for the past year and a half.
I think if Real Madrid come in
for the right money,
yeah, but it's Real Madrid. I mean, if Real Madrid came in,
it's a Real Madrid that are quite possibly going to be champions of Europe at the time.
If you look at it, if you think about it, yes, they've got probably the firm favourites to win it, But you've got to think Atletico Madrid have been a bogey team for
They
the
have
top
been
two.
yes, but
And it's a Madrid derby,
the
so they're
thing-
going to be going for it
the
more.
thing that might bother it is, in a week, in 7 days, Atletico have got the La Liga showdown with Barcelona, and then 7 days later the Champions League final with Real Madrid. That's 2 huge games
Mhm.
in 1 week. It's a lot to take out at the end of the season. That's all I can think.
If Atletico win, I've always said whoever win the La Liga will lose the Champions League.
Yes. So, in terms of Suarez, if he stays, will he become one of the best players in the world?
This season he's the best player in the world
I certainly think he's up there.
because he scored more than 30 goals this season, and he was first to get over 30 out of every player around the world.
But
That proves it.
Yes, but
I mean, who the 3 best players? I mean, you got Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi.
And he helped Sturridge to 20. Sturridge got 20.
the problem is,
51 goals,
I think we're only saying this because we're Premier League fans. Looking at it realistically, La Liga's been the best league in the world this season, talent-wise.
Yeah.
If you
So
look at-
when Ronaldo and Messi and Bale, to a point,
Yeah.
have ripped apart the league, I think maybe not Bale, but Ronaldo and Messi are the 2 best players in the world still.
you've also
I
got to
think-
consider the Bayern Munich with the likes of Robin and Ribery, and also
Yeah.
PSG still have Zlatan and
Yeah.
Edison Cavani.
I think
if
that,
in a top 10, I think Luis Suarez will be about 9th.
no, I think
That's the
if he's not, for me, if he plays like he does this last season, next season for Liverpool, if he's not put into the top 3 for the Ballon d'Or, people think, well, what does a player need to do to get in that Ballon d'Or?
See, the problem is, and this is not an insult to Liverpool or anything, he is not at a stage where he can be considered, because Liverpool, after the recent decline, yes, they will always have the history, but they're not the big enough club compared to Bayern and Real Madrid
But
and Man United.
I think in a few years'
Not more like
time,
Man United
I think
now, but-
if he's still there in like 3 years' time, he would have won a Ballon d'Or. But I
But-
can't see him there in 3 years' time.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't the Ballon d'Or about who best player over a year?
But if you also look at the Ballon d'Or, there are
Messi's
several.
not in there, then, is he? Messi hasn't had a good year at Barcelona.
he hasn't had a good year compared to Messi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Compared
so-
to his past years, but compared to everyone else, it's always a good year for Messi.
No, yeah,
He's
but
gone 30,
it's
40
not.
goals
It's
season.
not on par.
I think
with what Suarez has
You've
done.
also got to consider the attitudes of the players.
Yeah.
Suarez is a great player,
See, this
but
is the
his
thing.
attitude is horrendous.
This is the thing, as you mentioned,
Same as
it's
well.
for the past year, not in a season, but a calendar year. So that would include the Ivanovic bite,
Fair enough.
which is why he didn't win last year's Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's
So
obvious, right?
that's what may have cost him, personally. Sturridge, you mentioned Sturridge should have been 3rd.
Yes.
There's the dance coming out again. Why? Why is he not?
Because this was Sturridge's first full season at Liverpool and his first proper season starting at a club as a striker. Because at Chelsea we always deployed him as either a winger or had him on the bench. I feel Sturridge brought something different to Liverpool, and his pace helped bring up Sterling because it showed sort of similar tactics. And you got to think, when Suarez wasn't there, who was going to knock in their goals? And Sturridge was on fire. Then he got injured, and then went just in time when Suarez came back.
So, Liverpool strikers next season. Barini.
No.
No?
Mid-table
Never
club. He won't be at Sunderland. He'll be a mid-table club like the likes of Southampton, something like that.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
but
yeah,
you're always.
maybe
I'm sorry, but you're always going to be benched to Suarez and Sturridge at this moment in
If
time.
Suarez leaves, though,
If Suarez leaves, I reckon Barini and Sturridge is a good shout. But we can't look that far. ahead.
I don't think Rodgers likes Barini. That's the
I
thing.
think Rodgers actually does, because Rodgers coached him at Chelsea Youth, then bought him in from Swansea on loan. Then when he was at Roma, he bought him back to Liverpool.
He just done, I think he just done that because he needed a player. that
Wherever
knew-
Rodgers has gone,
started
he's
out.
usually brought in Barini.
That's very true, but I don't know. From what I'm hearing and from what you hear on gossip-wise, it just doesn't seem like Barini has a future at Liverpool. I'd be very happy if he does, because I think he's a really, really good player.
Would you take him at Villa?
Oh, hell yeah.
Question is, can you afford him?
Loan him like Bertrand.
If Sunderland can afford it, I'd hope that we could afford
If you
it.
ask us nicely, we might give it. Well, might give him a loan.
Yes, Stu, you can speak to your people, do us a favour. And then Sturridge, Sterling, Lallana we spoke about. England's future, it's fair to say, yeah? So the England World Cup squad came out. We can speak about it now. The England World Cup squad came out, and Lallana's on the plane, Barkley's on the plane, Sturridge, Sterling, Luke Shaw is on the plane. That's the big story. Ashley Cole's announced his international retirement after not being on the plane, which seems a little sour grapes to me. I don't know.
I think, despite everyone saying that if Ashley Cole didn't go, Luke Shaw would. I think, that's a fair argument, yeah. But he could have taken an extra player in another position at the end of the day. So, obviously, Luke Shaw, he thinks he deserves it. I still think it's too early for him.
Really?
Yeah. One appearance, I think he needs one.
No, I reckon he'll feature if there's nothing to play for against Costa Rica.
Yeah, because people are forgetting he will not be England's first choice. Leighton Baines is England's first choice. He's the best left back we've got.
Yeah.
Ashley Cole has got the talent, but I think Leighton Baines is better now.
You'd almost be tempted if when like one of the friendlies, just to experiment, have like Ashley Cole as the left back, because he's better defensive than Baines, but play Baines sort of as a left midfield, just to see, because Baines going forward and crossing and free kicks is really good, but when he's having to track back, I would have Ashley Cole over Baines.
So what do you think about the Ashley Cole retirement? Because as I say, when I saw it, I thought it's a bit of, you're not going to take me to the World Cup. Well, I don't play for you anymore.
Well, I think he was always going to retire after the World Cup.
Because Gerrard is doing the same.
Lampard will retire after the World Cup. Gerrard most likely will retire after the World Cup. And I think Cole would have retired after the World Cup. Because they're all 33, 34 and want to prolong their playing career. Like, Lampard will retire because he's 36 while we're out there.
I'm not saying they would have played anyway, but I don't know whether it's just me, but I'd want to play for my country as long as I was allowed to.
Oh, well, if you think about it, if you look at like Scholes and Giggs, they stopped their international careers really early on and went on to late 30s, and Scholes retired twice.
Well, Scholes would have retired in about 2005-06 if it wasn't for the international retirement. He had that eye injury that stopped him, and he would, if he carried on playing for England, he wouldn't have played on to when he did. That's fair to say. Ryan Giggs,
it's Wales.
It doesn't. Yeah. Anyway.
But this is why I think everyone says England, international football isn't appreciated as much as it should be. Everyone cares way too much about club football these days, for me. Like,
everyone puts club over country now.
Like, for me, the best players in the world, like legends, let's go like Eusebio, Maradona, Pele, all remembered for their countries.
But Maradona's remembered for the wrong reasons for his country.
You know what I mean? Like, and players like Ronaldo and Messi won't really be remembered for their countries, I don't think.
I think that's fair to say.
I think Ronaldo will be more remembered for his country than Messi will, because Messi's never really done it as an international stage. Ronaldo's got them pretty much single-handedly into the Euros and the World Cup.
Yeah,
I think you've got to say, to be on the Pele level, you have to perform at a World Cup, which this year might be Messi's year. In South
America, I reckon one of the South America. I've always said. I think
it's going to be Brazil or Argentina.
I've always said Brazil,
but I think Argentina might come out of nowhere with the squad they've got. Messi, I mean, they haven't took Tevez. They can afford not to take Tevez.
Yeah, but have you seen who's in his place? Franco Di Santo, the former Wigan striker.
Yeah, but he must have been playing well. He must have been on form.
He's at Wolfsburg, isn't he?
Yeah, so I mean, he must be scoring goals to get in the squad.
But I think there'll be a surprise. I really do. I think it'll be Diego Forlan, someone like that again. Because Diego Forlan...
Have they taken Forlan before we go too far in this?
No, they have. They've taken Suarez, Cavani and Diego Forlan.
You've gone on a different country, mate. We're talking about Argentina. That's Uruguay.
But I'm saying there'll be a surprise, and that's why.
So now that we're onto the subject of Uruguay, that strike force sounds scary, doesn't it? Is it just me, or am I not looking forward to playing those?
No, I'm not.
Joe Hart, England's number one. There we go. Yeah. I hope.
I mean, I personally believe England won't get out of the group stage, and that's not. That's not being negative, it's just being realistic.
I'm hoping so. I'll put money on it.
Yeah, these two put money on it, so they've always got us coming out of the group.
I think it's. I just want to say this podcast does not condone gambling in any shape or form.
We do not condone underage gambling or drinking.
But Matt Ty, Italy, Uruguay, are they better than us?
I reckon Italy, no. Uruguay, yes. I would say we could beat Italy. Because if you remember back to the Euros, Italy have taken exactly the same squad as they took for the Euros, -1 or 2. And we took them to extra time and penalties as a 0-0.
I mean,
Over one game, I reckon we could beat
I
them.
would be overjoyed if they would surprise me and we get to the semis or the final. You know what I mean?
Can we just get out of the group first?
Well,
You know,
that's the
one
thing.
step at a time.
Baby steps.
In terms of a dark horse, what about Belgium?
Belgium will win the Euro 2016. Hands
That's
a
a
big
fair
shout.
shout. I believe that's a fair shout.
Hands down, and they'll get to the quarterfinals of the World Cup.
Because they've got a young squad as it is, and their sort of their second string is likes of like Hazard's younger brother is on the second, or is on the bench.
Forget about the conditions out there. Let's forget about the conditions.
There's another Hazard.
Everyone's complaining about the conditions.
Buy him for no reason.
We bought him because Hazard said, "I'll go only if you sign my little brother."
You bought him just because.
We bought him for the name right.
Anyway,
We're drifting off here, I'm sorry.
in terms of Belgium, and this is not being biased as a Villa fan, but how big a blow is Benteke's 6-month injury?
It's a minor blow.
It's a blow as it
Lukaku's
is.
still there.
Yeah, but in terms of qualification, Lukaku never started.
It was always
Benteke
Benteke.
was first choice. That's the thing.
But if you think about it, at the time, the qualification, Benteke was settled at his club.
Yeah.
Because the qualification and at Aston Villa, and he was during his really good season.
Yeah, it's fair to say.
But at the time, Lukaku was at didn't know whether he was at West Brom, or didn't know if he would be at Chelsea, or didn't know if he would be also at Everton. So I reckon they went for him because he's more stable and more match fit.
I mean, we are discounting the European and world champion Spain.
I don't think they could perform. I think this is the last era of the tiki-taka because everyone's known how to beat it now.
Yeah, but
And if you look
the
back at
squad they're taking is
if you look
scary.
at the Confederations Cup, though, yes, they beat the likes of Italy, but when they played Brazil in the final, they got destroyed in 10 minutes.
I think that it might have been more of the occasion, as in Brazil, the fans out, which is why Brazil are a big favourite.
At the end of the day, a big team does well if they
Yeah.
can perform on the big stage. That's what Spain have done. But like Matt is saying, they don't think they can do it anymore. It's fact. For me.
But the squad they've taken, like with Isco on the, not even on the plane at all. Come on,
yeah,
he would walk into our starting 11.
that's just the difference between England and Spain.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, you say he'll walk into it, yeah. But let's be honest, the players we've got, I would take them all. And even if Isco was there, I would still take them all. I don't regret. The only player I don't like in the England squad is James Milner. It's the only one.
I think James Milner will start against Italy.
He will because he's got a defensive mind
Uruguay.
about him.
I think we need James Milner.
Yeah.
Because
I think we
Is
need.
that because you're a Villa fan? Just asking.
no. Just simply because if we play Raheem Sterling and Lallana on the wings, we'll get tore apart.
I think for the first two games where it matters the most, we need the experience of Milner, of the likes of Milner.
We
and
need
Gerrard.
someone who's going to track back. Don't get me wrong, Raheem Sterling tries, and I'm not discounting that, but the experience of the defensive mind against the likes of Suarez, who likes to drift off towards the left and then the right, I think we need him.
You got to think
Without a defensive winger, we will get tore apart.
I can certainly see the young ones having a more feature against Costa Rica as the last game because either by then we're out or
I think
we
Ross
just need a
Barkley
point.
will start all through. He'll start two and be.
I think he'll
subbed
start
on.
against Italy.
He'll start against Italy and Costa Rica and probably make an appearance
Because
against Uruguay at
he's
some
that
stage.
kind of player. If I think no one can really deny it. He showed his true quality when he scored a goal against Newcastle, that solo effort, and scored that superb goal. I mean, for me, I think he has the pace to get through most of that team. He can drive through that team and give the ball to Sturridge and Rooney.
So, Brazil we spoke about, but there's been a big talk about whether Brazil are favourites to win this World Cup just because it's held in Brazil.
I've always rated Brazil to win a World Cup soon because if you look at their young talent, this is the first World Cup that I will be alive for where they haven't taken the likes of Ronaldinho, Robinho or Kaká. That just shows they've got the talent to replace him.
But if this World Cup was in Germany or in South Africa, for example, where it were before, were Brazil favourites? Are Brazil favourites? Or is it just because it's in South America?
I'd still put money on Brazil to win it.
I would, but this is how I see it: is that okay, you may be used to your own like conditions, like when
it's going to be tough for the European sides to get used to playing in the sweltering
I really don't think
heat.
it's that much of a big deal. I really don't. Like,
Can you play at 92% humidity?
No. Don't get me wrong.
Because that's where our opening
don't get me
game
wrong.
is.
I know it's bad conditions and all this. Yeah. At the end of the day, though, players have played in different conditions around the world. We've played in Russia. We've gone to we've been to Brazil. We went there. Chelsea went there not too long ago and lost the
yes, but
Club World
you've
Cup.
got to think the Club World Cup.
That was in Asia.
It's still different
The
conditions.
Club World
though,
Cup
so
is held in January.
When the conditions are right for us.
This is in June. Sweltering heat, the hottest it's going to get. All
Also,
year.
meteorologists predict there's going to be the El Nino heat wave.
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be
It's
hot,
gonna be
and then
tough.
there's the possible heat wave.
I mean, like everyone's saying that we're ruling England out, yeah, and because the moment that draw is made, all England fans thought, "Oh God, we're screwed because we're playing in that."
But
condition against
everyone
Italy.
forgets
Italy
one
haven't
thing,
been
though.
there neither.
No, that's very true.
Everyone forgets one thing, though, and it's something my dad reminded me when the draw was made. All the players from the teams we're facing play in England, play in similar conditions to us, so they all have to climatise as well.
Yeah.
Not many. If you look, some of the likes, only a few players actually play in South America. So we have a chance because in Italy, the conditions are probably just 10 degrees warmer than here. And Suarez up front for Uruguay plays in Liverpool, where it's usually raining.
That's very true. Changing gears. At the end of the season, Pepe Mel has left West Brom. Tim Sherwood has left Spurs. It's expected there'll be one or two more in the summer, as well as all the sackings throughout the season. Has the managerial bug of all the sackings returned this season compared to the season before?
Because in my opinion, a manager is recruited to do a job, yeah. And for me, they should stay throughout the whole season. Okay, if you get relegated, you get relegated. He's tried his best to do that job. Yeah, at the end of the day, someone's got to suffer for going down. Like, that's how the league.
But can you
works.
just solely blame the manager when?
No, because David Moyes shouldn't have been sacked. He should have had another season, and that he should have been able to have more money to buy new players.
See, the thing is, in particular, David Moyes, I know we spoke about this, but he played the same similar tactics that Fergie played.
His starting lineup was the same lineup that won the league.
The difference is, and I know Nemanja Vidic come out and said they tried their best to play for the players. Vidic may have, he seems like a sort of player. But the Evras...
The Rooneys.
Well, the Rooney's had a fairly decent season. He hasn't shone, but compared to
if you think about it, though,
the Everett and the Carricks, for example, Michael Carrick's had a horrid season.
he has an awful.
Last season,
The season before, he was England's best midfielder for me.
But for
Rooney,
Rooney, this was the season to shine because Van Persie's been injured, Welbeck's been on and off form, and Chicharito hasn't exactly been there.
I feel sorry for Chicharito because
I reckon Chicharito will leave.
I think if Hernandez is at Spurs, he gets 20 goals a season. He's that good.
That's what happened to Adebayor. He wasn't playing at City, goes to Spurs and has a good second half of the season because he didn't play under AVB.
Moyes has had lots of injuries to deal with. As you mentioned, Van Persie. Vidic was out for a while. Ferdinand was out for a while. Evra's been out. Rooney was out for a little while as well himself. So it is slightly unfair.
It's slightly unfair to sack him now, but I reckon he...
Obviously, because people can't see that, Matt Thorney's just spilt his milkshake all over himself.
Let's get back to the subject. So politics.
Politics, hello.
In his Anchorman Stay Classy shirt. It's an ironic shirt, I know.
It's got a bit of swagger.
Okay, Moyes, we all agree Moyes shouldn't have been sacked. General ruling, yeah?
Yes.
So, what about Steve Clarke at West Brom?
No.
If you look at what he'd done, I know he had Romelu Lukaku, who kind of guided them to where they were in the league, yeah? But I really do think that if he was given the season, they would have probably got mid-table.
I think it's fair to say they would have got mid-table.
I think they were affected more by the Anelka incident.
Anelka, see, I mean,
I know he didn't really perform
coming
well.
from the Midlands myself, I must say,
You love
at
that.
the start of the season, I said to many of my friends who are Albion fans, Nicholas Anelka, signing Nicholas Anelka is the worst possible thing they could have done.
Yeah.
Because he's not good enough for the Premier League.
Not anymore. He used to be like at Chelsea. No denying it. He
At
was
Chelsea
good.
was
He left
the
Chel-
last.
He left
few
Chelsea
years,
2
yeah.
years ago. He left Chelsea 2 years ago, but you think about it, they had no other real strikers back then. And so I think
No.
Anelka with the online Scott Sinclair, who has also dealt with huge injury blows,
Mm.
and also the
Scott
Berahino stepped
Scott
up.
Sinclair should have been better than he has.
Scott Sinclair should leave City if he wants to save his career.
Yeah.
End of. And so does Jack Rodwell. They both need to leave because they're both possible England internationals, that's Swansea and Everton respectively. And now they've just suddenly disappeared. Like
Yeah.
when was the last time Rodwell actually played football?
Exactly.
Beginning of the season.
Clark, though, I think Pepe Mel was the wrong choice.
And he's left now.
Obviously, he's left now.
I don't
But-
think he ever enjoyed it. I really don't. I don't think he really wanted to go there. I think he went there because he wanted the job.
I think he only went just to say he's
don't
managed
even
in the
think
Premier
it's that.
League.
I just think the fact that West Brom were bringing in a manager that took his last 3 jobs in Spain, he's took us side from European football, challenging, mid-table sort of side, to relegation, bottom of the league, every side, and got sacked.
Wasn't he the
every time.
Villarreal manager? Because one year Villarreal were like in the Champions League in City's group, and then
And then they got relegated.
Then they got relegated. Was that
Pepe
Mel?
Mel? I'm sure it was. Anyway,
Sounds like a nice guy though.
well, that's what I mean. And the
Could he be
situation,
Man United manager?
The situation,
I'm
the
liking
situation,
that idea.
the situation West Brom were in were very, very similar. I mean, I don't know whether I would have been particularly disappointed if they went down. I mean,
If he weren't from the
Carl is
Midlands,
slowly celebrating there.
Is that fire still there?
the Storage Dance has made its 3rd appearance of the show.
okay, that's West Brom. That's Man United. We spoke about Fulham already.
I think it summed it up anyway. If you sack 2 managers in the season, you deserve to go down. The managers they brought in obviously weren't the right choice.
And we spoke about Cardiff, Malky Mackay. What about Paolo Di Canio?
Well, I think he lost the job ages ago because he alienated players.
Apparently, because apparently he was only possibly like a short-term replacement. But then, like last the season he came in, basically, he played so well they thought they'd give him a shot. But
If they hadn't have beaten Newcastle 3-0 at Newcastle, I reckon he wouldn't have started the season as Sunderland manager.
Well, no.
Simple as.
basically they thought they'd give him a shot and it didn't really work out.
I think Gus Poyet would have been hugely happy to be able to get the job, obviously, and he's done a really good job. But he's sacking at Brighton. That was just rough last summer.
Oh,
He
come
was-
on, you
he
laughed.
was-
I laughed.
I didn't laugh.
I didn't
That was
laugh. He was on
diabolical.
air hosting the Confederations Cup. Then match of the game go, oh, by the way, Gus, you have been sacked.
That is like the
I know
worst
he's a good
way of being
manager,
sacked.
but I didn't think.
He got punked, let's be honest.
I don't know how you can laugh. I don't know how you can laugh because that is not. No, where's the
Oh,
common
I know,
decency?
no, I know.
We're not
it's
laughing
harsh.
as it's like. we're just
No, I know
saying-
it's harsh. We all know it's harsh. But it's just funny. You're on a TV show. You think you're manager. You're sitting there all fine. You suddenly, by the way, mate, you've just been sacked. Just, what? Kind of thing. That's why it's funny. It's just it's a shock that it's suddenly.
The situation, looking back on it, was a bit funny, but at the time, just like
Oh yeah, at the time. It was
no, Brighton, no.
What about Andre Villas-Boas?
I think they very interesting one because Tim Sherwood done a good job, but AVB, I don't think he should have been sacked. I think where they finished, they would have put him there anyway.
Can I just say this is now the second club AVB has tried to manage in the Premier League and not lasted his contract.
AVB, I don't think was even given a chance at Chelsea.
No, he wasn't.
Well, yeah,
At the start of the season, he was, but he tried to change too much too quickly, and he did the same at Tottenham by signing Adebayor, then not playing him at all. He tried to change too much too quickly, and the signings because he brought in those Bale signings, and they didn't work, and he realised that he tried to change too much too quickly, and was not able to. He should have brought in at least 3 players rather than 8 so they can all gel and then slowly add to it. Not
Yeah.
not bring in a squad straight away. I think he brought in too much too quickly, and he's been caught out twice now.
That's probably fair, but saying that, at Chelsea in particular, things needed to change.
Things needed to change, and he dropped for one game. I think it was the Napoli 3-1 game. He dropped Ashley Cole, Michael Essien, Frank Lampard, John Terry, and Didier Drogba. 5 key players. If you're playing a big game away, you need at least one of them, at least one or two on the bench. Petr Cech was our most experienced player there, followed by Jose Bosingwa. That says a lot when Bosingwa, who was signed 2 seasons beforehand, was our second most experienced Chelsea player.
I think the less said about Jose Bosingwa, the better on this programme.
That's a rule now. We can't.
But
no more talk.
the reason why I think he should have been given the chance is because I understand where we finished in the league that season. Take away Champions League, take away the FA Cup.
Well, you've got to think Villas-Boas did have a chance. He had a season and a half at Spurs. He had the whole of the 2012-13 season and the first 4 or 5 months of this season.
And he done well. That's why I don't understand why he wasn't given the whole season.
He did well in the first season, but then when he got given the control of the transfer funds, he fluffed up.
Speaking of managers that did well in the first season, but not particularly so well in the second season, the sacking of Michael Laudrup at Swansea came as a huge
very
surprise to many.
controversial.
Yeah.
But if you look at it properly, it shouldn't actually be that surprising.
Because if you look back at it, when they won the League Cup, they won 3 of their last 12 games and nearly got relegated.
Yeah.
They almost did what Birmingham
And they
did.
started the season very poorly.
But it's funny that most teams, apart from City, obviously, that the teams that have won the League Cup have suddenly gone under a hoodoo. Like when Birmingham won it, they suddenly got relegated. And then when
that was a good day.
and then when Man United won the League Cup,
we say suddenly, you're like, oh, it's always going to happen.
but like when Man United won the 2010 League Cup, they kind of fell out of the title race a bit after that, and that's what cost them the league at the end of it. They
Did a little bit, yeah.
It is difficult to challenge on the 2 fronts like that. That's the problem.
That's why Chelsea don't go for it anymore.
Gary Monk came in. Swansea manager. And at the end of the season, he's been offered the full-time role. He's done a really amazing job.
I think he had to go in straight away because his first game was the South Wales derby.
Yeah.
At Cardiff as well.
Many people thought when Laudrup was sacked, they could have been relegation candidates.
I did.
I think he's done a great job, but you also got to think there's players he had were Laudrup players as well.
Yeah, they were Laudrup players,
but I think the signing of Boney at the start of the season helped them a lot.
Boney's 20 goals this season.
I think we'll also
everyone forgets how much Boney's helped them this season.
I think you've also got to take into
the most
contact
underrated player of the season.
I think you also got to take into contact they did get quite far in the Europa League. They started off in the qualification stages, got through the group, then made it through to the round of 32.
They got 0-0
games
against
Napoli.
I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus, that's amazing.
What about John Joe Shelby? As a Liverpool fan, were you sad to see him leave, or
Not really. I mean, obviously, I was pretty annoyed when he scored them goals against us like earlier in the season.
Yes.
Yeah,
No, I mean at Liberty, yes.
Yeah. As there were goals, but I was still like.
Mine was an own goal though, so it helped. He said, "Oh, this is a little present," and we'll be out there.
I do think I said at the start of the season, John Joe Shelby.
I said it was a good move for him.
I thought it could have been a move that propelled him into the World Cup spot. Because he's got the ability to. He just doesn't show it. That's his problem.
I think he has a strong possibility for a Euro 2016 position.
If he
stays like this. You got to remember, one of his goals, I think it was against Villa, was up for contention of goal of the season or match of the day.
I don't even see how that can happen. The goal, I mean, everyone's ripped on Brad Guzan for this goal, right? And it's not the keeper's fault at all. The keeper played it out to his centre-back, Nathan Baker, while he's in a position where he's not in a good position in goal. So as the centre-back, what do? You hold on till he's in his goal,
then you
lump it down the field. What does Nathan Baker do? Passes it on a tee to John Joe Shelby, basically going, "Yeah, mate." There was no way it was Brad Guzan's fault.
But if we're going to talk about the goals season, for me, Jack Wilshere's was voted goal of the season.
Jack Wilshere's was voted
agree with
BBC Match of the Day goal of the season. In terms, you see, this depends on what sort of
What
fan of football
do you look
are.
at? Do you look at spectacular finishes or good
Well,
teamwork,
that's what I
build-up
mean.
play?
If you love the spectacular finishes, Luis Suarez is against Norwich.
Well, let's go around that. Matt, what do you think?
I would have said Suarez against Norwich because
Yeah.
the keeper was in. Because unlike the Shelby goals, the keeper was in a good position and he was under pressure by 3 Norwich players and absolutely launched it. The people who say Rooney's goal against West Ham, I say no because Adrian was the edge of the box when he shot and everyone said, oh, he was just like Beckham's against Wimbledon. No, Beckham was inside his own half against Wimbledon, and Wimbledon was the time Wimbledon were actually known as the Crazy Gang, and you didn't really want to do anything against them.
I personally think Will Shears was the best goal this season, but that's because I loved that sort of tip-tap football. Like, for example, a couple of years ago when Didier Drogba scored against Bolton.
Oh, with the link up between Lampard and Deco.
And it was brilliant. That was my goal this season, that season. So I love that sort of football.
Because that kind of football, for me, you're joining a team, you play as a team. Them kind of goals for me are you just love them. Like when I saw that, I just thought, how did that happen? So quickly? And with with Luis Suarez's goal, that happened in the season. Like Figueroa done it against Stoke in 2010, didn't he?
Yeah.
And doesn't get an award for it. But
Suarez did it a few years ago against Norwich at Carrow Road.
He loves scoring against Norwich.
He loves scoring.
He's got like 11 goals in 4 appearances, isn't it?
I bet you when Norwich went down, Luis Suarez was like, no!
Who am I going to score against now?
So
what about you, Stu?
Yeah, I wonder where Stuart's going with this.
Yes,
which one of the 31?
Don't
honest, yeah, I would say them. It's Norwich.
Luis
I
Suarez.
love them spectacular goals.
I always like the spectacular goals. I think goal of the season is about spectacular goals, which not many other players can be able to score, and that was one of them.
I mean, this season we've been treated to a few spectacular goals. There have been many.
So Luis Suarez, Yaya Touré's free kicks have been out of this world.
If we're sticking with the spectacular goals, you've got to think about that Fulham goal against Crystal Palace in Holloway's last game. Sidwell launched it up.
De Jager's goal.
De Jager chested it and still volleyed it straight into Speroni.
That's Quaresma, not Kasami, sorry. That was Kasami, not...
They both scored spectacular goals that day.
What do you mean?
Which one are you thinking of? There were two brilliant
They're
goals that night.
I can't remember the
Anyway, speaking of Fulham Crystal Palace, when we're talking about great goals, David's goal on the final day of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Last minute,
Ooh.
the youngster picks the ball up, turns left-footed, top corner, last minute to get a point. All the Fulham fans sprint onto the pitch. Yes, we got a point. That'll do us really well going into the Championship.
Yeah, you suddenly saw him go on pitch and
Yeah, we're finishing the season with a point.
Let them off, let them for a moment. They forgot they went down.
Just in the head. We're not that bad. See you in 2 years.
Hopefully a couple of years, because no offence.
I said, well, in their heads, they're hoping the 2 years is when they come back up, but more realistically, it could be when Palace go back down.
You know, when Borough went down, I think what Borough done, Fulham will do. I think they
just stay there.
Now we're on the subject of the Football League, and we're going to the Championship. Playing in the Premier League next season will be Burnley, will be Leicester, and it will be either QPR or Derby County.
I hope it's Derby. Just saying that. I hope it's Derby.
Let's talk about Leicester for starters.
Let's start with the champions.
What a season they had.
And you know what?
It's got to be one of the quickest the Championship's been wrapped up.
Oh, definitely.
They've got more points than Cardiff did in the record, and that was the record.
And Burnley just sprinted away with it.
And Leicester came back.
I meant Leicester.
No. At the start of the season, QPR and Burnley did go ahead fast, but Leicester was always just round third. But they were
grabbing the points, like Liverpool were throughout the season. They were grabbing the points.
But have Leicester got a squad? I know they will bring in players, but at the moment, have they got a squad that can stay in the Premier League?
Apparently, they've got the funding from the Premier League that's coming, but apparently they're getting more money from other sponsorships to come in.
Yeah,
they're getting new sponsorships.
They have got money to spend.
They've got money because their new owners just wiped their debt completely off.
But they do need different striker than David Nugent. He ain't a Premier League striker.
I don't know. I think that's unfair to say because he scores bundles of goals in the Championship. He's had one season.
But then Charlie Austin as well.
I think Charlie Austin will score loads of goals.
You think
Charlie Austin and Danny Ings will do good for Burnley?
I think one of them will score loads of goals. I mean, we're just talking about Charlie Austin. That's if QPR win the big playoff final,
of course.
Because this, what I say is, Scott Sinclair. When he was at Swansea, he scored loads of goals in the Championship. Comes to the Premier League, scores about 5 goals. I think that
I reckon Scott Sinclair is a good shout to go to Leicester, because Leicester are the only teams that have come up that can afford to buy him.
Do you think he's a relegation player then?
No, I reckon Leicester will stay up. I have a sneaky feeling Leicester will stay up, do like a Stoke and just stay up.
You say you think he's the relegation player. Where does Scott Sinclair really go, though? Because, I'm sorry, for what he's done in the past 2 years, he's not good enough to play for a side like Everton.
That's why I say Leicester.
Yeah, Leicester would be
when they first came up, Stoke were just about 16th. That's where I think he'll be. He's not top half yet. If he stays at Leicester for long enough, he will be. That's why I reckon he'll go to Leicester.
But who do you think will be the surprise team from the Championship that will come up?
If Derby go up, I reckon there could be a real surprise, because that Will Hughes is a great little player.
I think Steve McLaren will. I mean, Steve McLaren has recovered his reputation in English.
Everyone
football.
forgets he's a good club manager because of the Wally with the Borley episodes.
Yeah. But with, like he's saying, Derby with the team, yeah. When you look at the teams that have come up, okay, they've got the players, but with Derby, they've actually got a huge squad. If a player gets injured, they've got someone that could come in and get a goal. So I think it could be Derby. I really could.
I mean, half of me's hoping Derby win, and then Paul Lambert gets the sack in the summer and Harry Redknapp becomes the new Aston Villa manager, personally. Because
just saying.
But
are you listening, FIFA?
Are you listening? Anybody that's coming in, listen to me.
Look into my eyes.
You will buy Aston Villa and then make Harry Redknapp your manager.
I mean, further down the league, it's been a tough old season for Birmingham again.
I love it. Sorry.
I was hoping that
Sturridge Dance, episode 5.
I was hoping they would go down, because obviously as a Crawley fan, it would have been a nice little trip to St Andrews, but unfortunately.
Since when is a trip to St Andrews nice?
I like to go to I like to go to
small teams. Nice to see small teams.
You've got Southend coming up next season, don't worry about it.
To be
I highly doubt that.
Come on, Burton.
Come on, Burton.
Did you watch the same match? You played pretty shocking.
Didn't Burton also
about
have
the championship? Come on. That's what we're talking about.
Didn't Burton have 10 men and you still lost?
10 men.
Look, we're talking about the championship, Barnsley and...
just to clear things up, Matt is a resident Chelsea fan, but his local team,
Southend United.
is Southend United. So when we go, we're playing against 10 men.
It's directed at Thowney.
So looking ahead to this weekend, Arsenal versus Hull, FA Cup final.
Come on, Hull, just for banter.
Yeah.
I as much as I would love to see Arsenal break their trophy duck,
I think they're going to win the cup this weekend.
I don't know, because they've had this position before. They've had the opportunity. I just don't think they have the players.
I think it's a different side now. I think it is. With Ramsey, with Wilshere if he's back, Ozil, Cazorla, Giroud's had a fantastic season.
He's underrated.
I still think Hull might nick it.
I don't know how, but
I reckon Hull might just nick it. And I'm not saying that just because I think
game. It'll be a close
game. It will be close. I'm not just saying that as a Chelsea fan, and I want to continue this banter of 9 years without a trophy with Arsenal fans. Ha 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 ha. But I also But I just think Hull have got Europe as it stands, thanks to Arsenal finishing 4th again. But I just think Hull will edge it.
I mean, if you're still listening to this an hour and 37 minutes in, and you haven't realised this is a show where biasness doesn't matter, just saying. Also, as we've already mentioned this weekend, Atletico Madrid versus Barcelona. Winner takes the La Liga title. I'm not sure whether all three of you are up to date on your Spanish football, but what a game it's going to be.
It is going to be a spectacular.
I mean, how I see it is, like we were talking about the last day.
It's still going to be close because of this. Diego Costa has a hamstring injury. He left the game against Malaga after 60 minutes.
Diego Costa
he's in a race to be fit for the
plus. And this is what I don't understand the decision of. It all come out about Chelsea in talks to sign Diego Costa. before the biggest game of their season. That's not going to do him any good. It's not going to do Atletico any good. I want Atletico to win the league, as I'm sure many people do.
I do, because it's just going to be something different. It'll be
But I'm
something
worried
new.
because it's the new camp. It's Barcelona. And you know what? It's not even a league format anymore. It's win the game and you win the league. So in a way, that's what Barcelona are good at.
But
But if you look at this, Courtois is the best keeper in La Liga.
And Atletico don't necessarily have to win.
Atletico are 3 points
point
up, but
is
it's their
good
goal
enough.
difference.
They just can't lose.
They can't afford to lose.
how I see it is that everyone was saying on the last time we was watching the final day of the Premier League was that every fan would love to see the day that the title is decided between two teams fighting for the title,
Yeah.
facing each
Yeah.
other. Now we have that opportunity this weekend. That is how big that game is.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
is going to be tuning in.
Yeah.
to see
But
it.
as we said earlier, if Atletico win the league, they won't win the Champions League against Real.
No, I don't think they will.
Why would you say
I
that?
think two big games straight after another. You've got to travel. You've got to go from Madrid, travel to Barcelona, then which take travel.
Go to Lisbon,
So you've got to travel. So you've got to rule out a day to travel. Then you've got the day of training. Then you have the match. Then you've got the day to relax, and then travel back. Then they're going to have another day. Then they've got to fly out to Lisbon to get appropriate for the game. See the hotel. Get used to the. Then they'll train in the pitch. Then it's the final. They don't
But
have enough time.
Okay, Real Madrid.
Real
don't
Madrid
have
can-
a game like that, but they've still got to play.
They still have to play, but they can afford to rest Ronaldo, Bale, Higuain. No, not Higuain. Benzema and Di Maria. They can pretty much play their B team.
True, but if
They can play their B team, but have their big players on the bench to come on and get us a bit of match time before the final.
If they win the double, let's say they win them both, can they be classed the best team this season?
Atletico.
Yeah. Would they be the best team this season if they win both? For
Yeah.
me, I say yes.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Mm.
If they win both, for sure.
That's
the
why
reason. The reason it's got to be because they've won they are champions of Europe
And champions of Spain.
and champions of Spain, where many people will agree it's been the best league in the world.
Mm.
So it's got to be, surely.
I
If-
mean,
if
you
they
would say, if anything, obviously the Premier League is at least on par with it.
No,
It hasn't been this season.
No way. It has. The Premier League has not been the best league in the world since about 2008.
Don't you think?
2009. No.
For me, I think it has because I always like a league.
it's
But
the
this
most
is-
entertaining. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I think.
for talent-wise and
Talent-wise, yeah.
For talent-wise, we're nowhere near Spain. But if you think about
or Germany.
All Germany. But if you think about the league as a whole, about how close it is, we're certainly up there. Because with
yeah.
Spain, it's before this season, you would have gone, Barcelona or Real Madrid easily win the league, and Atletico will probably get third as usual by about 10 points. But normally with us, it's either decided on the last day or decided a week before.
Yeah. Well, many people say this, and I agree. The Premier League is not the best football league in the world, but it's the best football brand in the world.
It is. If you go to anyone around the world, they will have heard of the Premier League first
Premier
before La Liga.
Well, would you say this?
Or the
that
Bundesliga.
for me, I think this is why the Premier League is not as good as it can be. We aren't bringing through enough homegrown talent. I think if we did,
See,
And
with this
they would-
homegrown talent, that's why we're bringing in the B League. Yet you're against the B League.
I'm against the B
The
League.
B League,
because
the
it's
B League is a
rejecting-
topic that we can talk about at a later date, just because I know we will be here for hours and hours and hours.
I mean, the reason why I say this is because you look at Iniesta, Xavi, Pedro for Barcelona, homegrown talent, and look what they've done for Barcelona.
But isn't it fair to say that over the past 3-4 years there has been a focus? They have been trying to bring in the homegrown talent, which is why we saw the Lallanas, the Sturridges, the Sterlings.
We brought in the homegrown rule in the squad level of 25.
But isn't I don't know if it's just me, but since then the Premier League's had a decline. So does that matter? Does that fact come in, and all of a sudden you saw the Bales and Cavani, for example, turn down the Premier League for the French league? The Premier League doesn't have the glamour that it had.
The French league is nowhere near
Yeah, but
any.
No,
other
no,
league.
no,
That's why you
no,
can't-
I'm not
I don't
saying
think
it
you can
is.
compare
that
that.
was only because of the money, obviously. You
Yeah,
ain't here for the money,
but-
can't you?
But it doesn't have the same glamour. Bale leaving off to Spain.
Yeah, but again, that's nothing like that's.
You've got to look at it the other way. He's gone from Tottenham, who are challenging for Europa League, to Real Madrid, who are challenging for La Liga,
but
Champions League.
He could have gone to Man United or Chelsea, or someone would have wanted him.
Man United were putting a bid for him, but if you had the choice of 50, if you were Daniel Levy, who do you accept? 50 mil from Man United or 85 mil from Real?
Hang on, these stewards gonna.
I mean, as we said earlier, I mean, it's Real Madrid. If we say Real Madrid come knocking, you think about it.
It's going to be hard to say no to Real in any situation.
If I was playing football and then Real Madrid come knocking, I've always said I would play for the team I support. But if Real Madrid come knocking at Chelsea, for me, I'd be like,
it's hard to turn down Real Madrid.
And he actually supported them as a kid, apparently.
Yeah,
I mean, because in the old press conference, he had the picture and everything saying wearing the kit and everything.
I mean, let's not lie. Everyone has dreamed of playing for a team like Real Madrid. So
it is hard to play for Real Madrid, and it is hard for us to stop talking football, but we have droned on
we can
for our
edit
time
this.
limit.
We got this. Everyone's interested. They're back here after being asleep for about an hour.
We must say well done to anyone who's actually kept up with this, because even we have managed to get through this without waving off too much.
It's an interesting topic.
But that's the point of this podcast. It's for football fans talking football. It's what you want to hear. We will try and leave it at that and be back for our next episode. It's been our first episode.
So now politics, right?
This has been our first episode of the...
I think this is the time you have to cut the sound now. So.
This has been our first episode of the Arcade Football Podcast. Our end of the season review, but our first episode. We will be back on our next episode. I've been Carl Dixon.
I've been Matt Sai.
I've been Matt Thelney.
I'm Stuart Irvine.
I'd like to thank them all for being here, and I'd like to thank you for listening. And
If
we'll
you
be
did.
back next episode.